There is this risk in life. If you try and do too much, you crash and you burn and everything falls apart. But if to hedge against that, you try and do too little, you're never really living a full life. But fortunately, I have a system which protects against both of those extremes. It makes sure that I'm always operating at the very edge of what I'm capable of without holding too much back, but also crucially without crashing and burning. I call it the Jenga productivity method. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly what it is and how you can implement it into your life. Let's get into it. So this is a Jenga set. It's actually smaller than I thought it'd be. I ordered it from Amazon and it turned up and it's tiny, but this small game of Jenga can act as the perfect analogy of how you can go about planning your life in an optimal way to make sure that you're doing as much as possible without things falling over, right? So imagine every single block in this Jenga is something that you could be doing with your life, right? There are endless possibilities of the things that you could be doing, but we know that the danger lies when we do too many of them and then our lives fall apart and we have to restart. So I want you to think of every single block in this game of Jenga as something that you could be doing, right? Maybe one of the blocks is the relationships that you could be having with those closest to you. Maybe another one of the blocks is going to the gym and looking after your health and your physique, right? Maybe another block is working on that business that you've always wanted to work on, but you're not sure if you have the time, right? One by one, you will pull things out of this tower. You will select options of things that you could be focusing on. And just like in a real game of Jenga, maybe one of them is, I don't know, going to a nightclub every Saturday night. You're gonna pull a block out and it's gonna fall over. However, unlike a game of Jenga, using this method here, you can make sure that you're always pulling out the most important blocks without it falling over to make sure that you're focusing on the most important things. So let me explain to you exactly how this method works. But first, I need to rebuild this because I kind of need it again for the analogy. Give me a second. Okay, I've rebuilt the Jenga. Now, there are two really basic steps to this method, and I promise you they will transform your life. So let's ignore the block of Jenga for a moment because step one doesn't involve this. Step one, you need to create a list of all of the things that you could possibly be doing in your life, right? All of the different blocks. Pull out a pen and paper, open a note on your phone, grab a Word document, however you want to do it, and literally write down everything that you think you could possibly be doing with your life right now. I want you to start with things which are as fundamental and as basic as taking care of your personal hygiene, going to a job if you need to work, right? Spending time with your partner, these really fundamental, these really basic things. But then also add to the list things like going to the gym, going for runs, working on your self-development, reading books, meal prepping so that you're always eating healthy foods, all of these kind of things. And then also add in stretch goals. Things like working on a business that you've always wanted to launch, maybe learning a new language, maybe taking up a new sport, maybe traveling abroad, maybe working away from home in such a way that it's going to take up your time. I want you to produce a document which has everything that you could possibly ever want to do with your life in this moment now. So I don't mean things in the future, I just mean everything that you could possibly want to do in any given day, in any given week right now. I want you to list everything. And then once you've done that, staying in step one still, I want you to prioritize every single thing on that list, right? So ask yourself questions like, is it more important to spend time with your girlfriend or go to the gym right now? Is it more important to meal prep or should you be building that business? Would you rather be going on nights out or trying to read 10 pages of a book a day? There are no right or wrong answers here, and you have to be really honest with yourself. Be honest. If you would rather go out on a night out than read a book, put that up there in the list above reading. This isn't about trying to look like a virtuous person who does all the right things. This is about being really honest with yourself and asking what matters most, right? At the end of this step, you want to have a list of everything you could possibly be doing in your life, ordered in such a way where the items towards the top of that list are the things that you care about the most, whether that's working, whether that's fitness, whether that's food, whether that's hobbies, whether that's nights out, learning, whatever it might be. Every single thing that you could possibly be doing with your life needs to be in that list. And then when you've got that list, you can go back to the Jenga block for this analogy, because this is where it gets really powerful. Unlike the traditional method of just throwing and seeing what sticks, right? Trying to cram as much into your life as possible and then acting slightly confused and a little bit lost when things fall over or when you have burnout or when you just can't cope. Following the method I'm about to explain, you will know exactly what trips you up, exactly what tips you over the edge to mean that you can no longer add things into your life. And then when you reach that point, you can reverse it. So let's go back to the Jenga block and talk this through. So like I've said before, this block of Jenga is going to be different things that you can be doing with your life, but rather than beginning them all at once, I want you to break your life into the next 8 to 12 weeks, right? I want you to invest 12 weeks in trialing out this method, and you're going to begin this week here in week 1 by just doing the basics in life, right? You're going to make sure that you're going to work if you need to go to work, right? That's something you're going to be doing this week. You're going to ensure that you're taking care of your personal hygiene in such a way that you're just going about life in the way you need to, right? I'm not very good at Jenga, bear with. So week 1 is just about the fundamentals. You're not going to try and do anything else in week 1. But then this is where it gets interesting. Let's take week 2. Look down your list. Once you've got the fundamentals out of the way, what is the next highest item on your list? What is the next thing that you want to be doing the most? Maybe for you, it's going to the gym and focusing on your fitness. So you're going to go back to the pile of options and you're going to take that option and put it on the top right. So now in week 2, you're going to be focusing on the fundamentals, and maybe in your example, you're going to be going to the gym as well. And things are looking okay. The tower is still standing, which means that your life is going smoothly. It's not yet become too much. So you can continue with those good habits. Now, maybe the next week, because you want to focus on your fitness in this example, you're going to start meal prepping, right? So you want to pull out a block which says that this week I'm going to cook all of my meals at home. I'm going to spend the 4 or 5 hours it takes to meal prep so that all of my lunches are healthy and cooked, and that's going to go in. So things are still standing, which means that you know that you can do the fundamentals and go to the gym and meal prep and still get on with your life. Nothing has fallen over yet. So then the next week, maybe you're going to say, all right, cool. I now want to focus on learning, right? I want to focus on reading 10 pages of a book a day to make sure that I'm progressing and learning what I need to learn. So we're going to take that and we're going to put it on. Now things are still standing, which means that your life is going okay. And now at this point, you've got the fundamentals, you're going to the gym, you're meal prepping, you're reading 10 pages every day. Now, you're going to continue working down that list week after week whilst things feel okay. So maybe the next thing is, I don't know, you want to begin working on that business that you've been telling your friends about for years, that you're convinced that you can make a success of, but you just haven't yet tried it. So you're going to grab it, you're going to, in week 5, can I work on that business? Can I spend 2 hours a night working on it? It looks like I can. The block is still standing, right? So at this point here, 5 or 6 weeks in, you would have had all of the most important things in your life scheduled into your days and your weeks in such a way where you know that you can manage. But just like in a game of Jenga, a time is eventually going to come where you're going to pull out one too many pieces, right? So maybe the next thing you want to do once you've got all of those fundamentals out of the way is, I don't know, learn a new language because you've always wanted to learn French. And then maybe after that, you're like, okay, things are going well. I'm going to do a night out every week, right? I'm going to go see my friends and do a night out. Okay, things are still standing. The next item on my list is, I don't know, I want to learn to play guitar, right? Okay, it's still standing, but we're getting somewhere towards the middle or the bottom of that list now, which means that eventually we're going to get to a point where things are too much. So maybe the next thing on your list is you want to go for a run 3 times a week, right? And so you're going to try and add that in, and the block's going to fall over. And then at that point there, you will know that it's priority number 7 on your list. It is the 7th thing that you're going to try and add into your week, which topples over the tower in this example, right? Now, why is this any different to the issue I explained at the beginning of this video? Why is this any different to your week completely falling apart and you having to start again? Well, all we need to do in this case here is rewind 1 week, and then we know that your life is going to be at its absolute most optimal state, because you know in those first 5 or 6 or 7 weeks that you can manage there or thereabouts all of the things at the top of your priority list that you want to be doing. And you know that it's, say, the 7th thing, in this example, is trying to find the time to go on a run 3 times a week, trying to do that alongside going to the gym, and are your energy levels crashing? Is this the thing which has made you topple over? Well, it's okay, because we don't need this one, because we know that it is the 7th most important thing. So once you remove it from your life, you can rebuild that block and make sure that you're only ever pulling on those 6 most important things. Now, this does 2 things. Number 1, of course, it means your block doesn't topple over, the block here being an analogy for your life. But number 2, it means that you know that you're always doing the most that you possibly can do. You are living on the edge of what is possible for you. Now, this method here, I find personally really effective. I recommend that you revisit the priority list once every 3 to 6 months as your life evolves, right? Because the things which are important to you today, now, are not going to be important eventually. But if you follow this method, create a priority list, pull them out one by one, spend a week at a time being like, okay, is this appropriate? Can I live my life like this? Yes, I can. Add another thing in, add another thing in. And only at the point where it feels like your time is getting too stretched, only at the point where you're so far down your list that you're losing interest and burning out, that is when you reverse. That is exactly how you're going to make sure that this year and in all future years you are getting the most done possible, and it's going to mean that your block doesn't topple over. That is everything for this video. I need to go and tidy up all of these little pieces of wood, but thank you so much for watching. If you did get value from this, please do make sure that you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one.